Morning, Sal.
Good morning.
Still finding my voice here this morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Um, so
is my
I,
audio coming through okay? I have a different
yeah,
webcam.
mine. How about mine? Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
You
Okay.
have a much better camera than I have, apparently.
Oh no, this
Ah,
is I just found this. I forgot I had this webcam. And
oh,
it's gonna make my life a lot easier because I was flipping back between a big monitor and a laptop. It was it
yeah.
wasn't
I just
easy.
switched to a mini computer, a little box computer.
Oh,
So I'm using the camera on a little notebook,
got it.
and
Yeah.
it's so, and that's why I'm always looking at like multiple
Yeah.
screen. I love multiple screen. I've always worked with multiple screens.
I didn't until about a year ago, and has been transformational. I can't like at
Oh
home I don't
yeah.
have the two, I have just the one, but at my other office I do, and it's yeah, it's
And
it.
I have one landscape and one portrait. It's like, you know,
Look
it's
at you,
perfect.
that is next level.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty nice.
interesting.
Um,
Well,
I've been thinking about we keep getting comments on the developers and stuff, and the traffic issue keeps coming up.
hmm
And we've always said, and we can discuss this in the meeting, but we've always said that the second access is, I don't know what it's triggered by. I don't know if it's Act 250 or there's another regulation. But we've always said that it depends on the housing plan, the internal street structure, all of that
yeah,
stuff. There's no point in pursuing it until we know that.
right.
Well, we're about to know that.
That's right.
So
So
there is a line in there about that sort of thing, traffic and stuff, but
yeah.
is it enough to trigger? In other words, what are we expecting the developers to do?
Well, so in that a preliminary traffic assessment,
And actually, we probably can't have this discussion with
true.
Ben listening because now we have a quorum.
Now you have a quorum. True.
Sorry,
And we're not in a
I'll leave.
meeting.
No, no, don't leave.
No, no,
Don't
no.
leave. We'll circle back to it. I have a little bit of data I can add to this.
Yeah, I mean, all of this is part of the meeting. It's not part of the meeting, but it's being
Yeah,
recorded.
true.
So
It's a
let's
question.
wait. Let's just wait here. Well, as soon as Adrian arrives, we can,
Yep. Yep, it's a good
or we
question.
can discuss it as it comes up. But
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And good
There's a
morning,
place
Ben.
for that conversation
Yeah, yeah,
in
that
the
is.
RFP. Yep.
And just two for hey Evelyn, just two for what it were maybe not today or something, but it would be good too to just maybe from Mike hear a plan around the land use review maps and how that interacts with Act 250 exemption and things like that. That would be
Well,
interesting to talk
I'm
about too.
hoping Mike will be here today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Evelyn.
While
Good
we're
morning,
here, I'm just
everybody.
gonna open something up. So
So we're just waiting on Adrian. Ah, she's here.
Morning, Adrian.
Okay, we're all here. I will call the meeting to order. Um, are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is accepted. Um, is there anyone in the audience who would like to make comments on anything that's not on our agenda? Hearing none, we will move to our discussion of the
great.
RFP.
All right.
Stephanie, why don't you go ahead?
Oh, it looks like you have a question in the chat.
Oh, we do. In the chat.
Any decisions from your December 3rd meeting for, sorry, I missed it.
Any
Any decisions
decisions?
from your December 3rd meeting for starting point today?
I guess I don't quite understand the question.
And our
I
last
mean,
meeting,
yeah, I don't believe so.
I
Our
think
last,
maybe,
well, December 3rd was last week, not yesterday, right? So,
Hi, Sal. That was my question, Hanif.
wh- wh-
I
what are you
wasn't.
wondering? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was. I wasn't listening into your last meeting, so I just wondered, have I missed anything? I don't see any record, but maybe I had the date of the last meeting wrong.
Yeah, yesterday, we had a meeting yesterday.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
no
So,
decisions have
send you
been
the
made.
minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and today we're following up with a discussion on the draft RFP, which is scheduled to be voted on today and submitted by the subcommittee and submitted as a recommendation to the council at next week's meeting.
And do
Okay,
you-
I really appreciate that. I feel a bit better oriented with what your work is at present. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Hanif.
Do you want to review? So we kind of have three pieces that need to go out of this meeting. One is the memo, is the matrix and or matrices, and the third is the RFP. So for the memo that I emailed out to the committee yesterday, are there any edits or a discussion to be had? The memo, just in for the record, is a summary of the recommendation to the full council of the reasons for the selection of the top five, the strengths that those applications, that those submittals brought, that are why the subcommittee wants to proceed to invite them to propose, and then an acknowledgement of the other applications. And then the attachment is the quantitative matrix that shows the averages of everybody's rankings or scores for each application, and then or submittal, and then a quantitative summary of kind of how each submittal met the different qualifications.
I'll
How
speak for
would you
myself.
guys like to?
I thought I don't know. It's the question how we want to discuss the memo or what our thoughts are in the memo or
Well, if we want to make changes to the memo, we need to do it. Otherwise, we'll move on.
Should you move to
I
adopt
was
it?
satisfied with them.
Okay.
Yeah, I was satisfied with the memo. I thought it was great, Stephanie.
Okay.
And so maybe Sal, I'd make a motion to approve the memo and
Okay, that makes
discussion
sense.
or
Yeah, sure,
comments.
let's do that.
Yeah, I move that we approve the memo as drafted by Stephanie and forward it on to the city council as our recommendation for selection of the developer. The developers to receive the RFP.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Sorry.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
So
Okay.
I will, process wise, I will send that to Evelyn and she will format it appropriately and get it ready for city council. Okay, great.
Great.
I'll work with you, Evelyn, after this, because I'll probably make it into the matrices as a PDF too. Okay. And maybe I'm overstepping here, but do you want to talk about who's receiving them in this meeting? Or is that just going to go public in the Friday packet?
I would just as soon put it in the Friday packet. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone have a reason not to do that?
I think
Yeah.
the memo is really well written and explains the reasoning and why, I think
Yeah.
it's just let the memo speak for it. Yeah.
That's what the memo's for. So,
Okay, great. Sounds good. All right. All right, let's move on to the RFP then. I'm going to bring it up on my screen, and we're going to go through some of the questions because there are some questions I had for you and you had for me. Okay. So we made some edits just to some language, tightening up some of the verbiage, but I don't think there's anything significant here. If I'm passing something you wanted me to address, just stop me. But to start for the substantive discussion, we have, just change my Zoom screen here. Okay. So a question from the committee was around this selling the buildable area for $1. And what kind of strings will be attached to that. And I just wanted to point out that basically all of that will get discussed and negotiated in the development agreement, because a lot of it depends on what they come back with in particular. If they have something that in their proposal that we see that we want to make sure they definitely do, or something we want to make sure they definitely don't do, those are things we bake into the development agreement. And so yes, the $1 is part of the development agreement, and then we just negotiate everything from there. So whatever it is that we want to make sure gets done because we're giving this away for $1, that gets baked right into there. But basically, if there was anything that, I mean, we've been very clear in what we're expecting in this process, in this RFP. So, I expect that that's what we would include in the development agreement.
I imagine that's the developer's understanding as well. I can't imagine anything.
Pretty common.
Else.
Yeah. They know that because this is a public-private partnership, there's going to be a negotiation that follows.
Yeah. While we're looking at this, you've updated this incentive section to reflect the Catalyst Grant Award, but footnote 3 needs to be updated.
Thank you. Thank you for catching that. And I actually wondered about the question, the term awarded, because I'm not 100% sure. Is it considered awarded yet, even though it's not been?
I think it actually is.
The term is awarded. Okay.
I believe that it is. I was thinking is it allocated, but in the press release, it's awarded. And
and there's another step before it can be accessed, but it has the term they used was awarded. So, and I guess I would.
Sorry, I was just going to say, before we can actually use the money, we have to receive a notice to proceed from NBRC.
Yeah, that's exactly. Right. And I would, select either Catalyst Grant or NBRC grant, or maybe both. I don't know, but
right. Good point.
Term. Yeah, consistent term. So okay.
All right. They don't. For some reason, you can't do a comment on a footnote in Word.
Yeah, no, I tried to do that. And you can't do it. Yeah.
Microsoft. David White trained me to hate Microsoft. All right. Did you hear that, Microsoft? I know it's listening. That's the thing.
All right.
All right. I try to yell things into my phone for process improvement all the time. I'm like, can you please make the photos feature better? It won't listen. All right. I've been talking with Mike Miller and Matt about an appendix for the CDBG DR eligibility. There's really not an additional exhibit. We can basically point them to the website. And I don't, because we don't want to be held responsible for doing any translating of that necessarily.
Yeah, it's not ours to define. Yeah.
So what I might do here, let me just make myself a note. I'll add the website, and then I need to, Sal pointed out that there were references below to the same thing. And yes, it's redundant. I will say it is redundant, but that's kind of one of the only requirements we're really bound to right now, in an external way. So I wanted to.
Yeah, I don't think we need to footnote it every time. We have one footnote on it, and then when it's mentioned, people have already read or can go to that.
Yeah.
Footnote. So what website are you talking about? Ours or the state's?
No, the state's.
The state's. Okay, cool.
I think that's the wisest, neutral.
So an actual link to their page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's my recommendation. So some cleaning up of language here. Okay, let's talk about, this is just a quick note. Sal, you had kind of pointed this out, but you said identification of the lead developer and all known team members. And you said, well, what about unknown team members, basically? And all we're asking is that if they know their team members now, they let us know. They can always add more team members later. If they find they need a structural engineer, they can add that structural engineer later. But it's just when they know their team members up front, we'd like to know about them too. That's all.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just wondering if there was a sort of minimum list of team members that
Yeah, not at this stage because everyone,
Okay.
some folks have it built-in expertise, some
Sure.
firms. So, like you saw, ExecuSuite has kind of a assembled team, and some of that expertise might be in-housed at Penrose. I don't know.
But the team includes in-house and
Yep,
outside
it does.
subcontracts, right?
It does, but
Oh,
they don't have
okay.
to name every single.
Okay, it was a small thing. Yeah.
Yep. Um,
As was start and end dates. I just thought,
I
nice to know if they started it and finished it. Yeah.
Yeah, this was an edit from Sal, which I liked because it add the relevant experience, not just the year completed of something that they did, but what are the start and end dates of their work, because then you can see how long it took them maybe to do specific projects. Maybe I'll change that to construction start and completion.
Yeah, I don't think it puts any extra burden on them. They know when they started, and
Yeah. Well, just making sure they don't have to, start could be when they acquire property, so just let them kind of play that out. The next one is what we talked about yesterday relative to market demand assessment, housing needs assessment. So I kind of just kept it simple to kind of say that they need to address market demand for the housing product, but
yeah, no, I think
you let me
that's
know
a great
if that
great
works.
inclusion.
Okay.
Do folks? I assume that if folks
Unless
have
there
an
was
opinion,
another thing you
they'll
wanted me to
chime.
ask them to do to provide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking at a separate screen, so I might miss somebody.
Yep.
Just chime in if you've got a comment. Yeah.
Right. And then this other one down here, asking them intentionally to suggest the conceptual traffic management and access design. So let's talk about that, because in the traffic assessment that was done for the city in 22, 23 as part of the due diligence, there was a traffic assessment that said, and this was accessible to all the proposers, was how during for trip generation purposes, there is a threshold of either 80 single family or 145 multifamily units could generate more than 75 peak hour trips. And then a traffic study would be likely to evaluate the traffic impacts of the proposed development program. So what that means is that's the threshold, like that's what this existing site can bear without doing any major study and major other improvements. So it comes and then that's true of the intersection. It says a traffic signal is warranted when traffic on Route 2 and the busiest side of the minor street exceed certain thresholds. The maximum development would not reach either of the warrants until 144 apartments or 144 single family homes are built.
That's for a signal?
For a signal. Mm-hmm.
But not a second access.
Not a second access. So that hasn't really been looked at yet. It's not going to be required until you hit that peak, until you hit that threshold. So one of the things I wanted to point out is that, some of these proposals may address that by saying they're going to start with their first phase and stay under that number until they have some build out, some sales done and some momentum before they propose doing more in the second phase. So they may phase it accordingly based on that traffic management consideration. But that's what we're asking them to do here in this RFP, is to give us their conceptual traffic management and access design. Maybe I call it end phasing, something like that.
Mm. I'm just wondering if this single line of 6 words is enough to convey all of that. Or, do you think they have an understanding of that? It was accessible to them. I didn't see a lot of people mention the word traffic in there.
Right. Maybe this is a good place to point them to that study and say, please refer to and reference a response to that assessment.
Well, I'm leaning in that direction. What do others think? Ben, Adrian?
I think I'm fine with whatever, but like I actually I don't know that I would put proposed facing, right? I would love to just see what they
Okay.
come back with. And
Okay.
I would like to put like a footnote linking to that study.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean ultimately what we want in the proposals that they return to us are, a demonstration that they actually know what they're getting into and that they've done their homework.
Yeah.
And they should answer that question and be like, if we're proposing 250 units, and they don't make a mention of the
Yep.
traffic constraints, that's kind of a problem,
Well, so
right?
yeah, no, I think a footnote would be enough to draw attention
Okay.
to it. It's more than we have here. Adrian, what do you think?
I mean, when was the traffic study done?
23.
It was
2023?
yeah, it was a
22.
traffic assessment, and it was done in
2023.
2022,
And I'm
actually.
assuming they
December.
also realize that there's a daycare up there, so that things have
Mhm.
changed since 2023. So I think just adding that conceptual traffic management design, knowing that there was an assessment in 2023, that we now have a daycare that adds to that daily traffic count. Um, I would love to hear what their conceptual traffic management plan is
Yeah.
based on that data. So,
Yeah.
Well, I just think it makes sense if we're asking them to do all of this work to make sure they consider this because
Right.
if it's not included, we're going to have to go back and
Right.
get it.
Well, and Adrian, to that point, I'll have to go back and look at the assessment assumptions, baseline assumptions. They might have included, for example, something for that existing building already into like the background of it. I'm not clear that it probably wouldn't have included a daycare, but like based on the zoning and the existing uses up there in 22, well, there weren't many uses up there in 22, but what could it have been used for? What was it used for previously? They may have baked some of that in. So I think that's worth, I'm going to go back and look at that, but I'm also going to maybe I'll ask VHB because I'm not entirely sure what those assumptions were. I think that'd be a helpful background.
I think this is good though, right? Like just saying like we want to see
Mhm.
conceptual traffic assessment and design, and then just point them to the study that's already been done and let them come back to us with what their plan is.
Yeah.
Hanif has his hand up. Hanif, very, very briefly, if you can.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear your discussion around traffic management. As you know, that like I was put in my design in Vision Montpelier, and it was really trying to address this specific issue. And I would really love if you would include in the discussion and definitely in the evaluation criteria something that relates to their conceptual solutions for this. And I'm hinting at multimodal access to the site. So I think you should give the developers an opening to say, hey, we would be able to deal or minimize traffic in these sorts of ways.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I think our when we get to that section of requirements, I think we have some language in there, but we'll pay attention to that as we move along through the RFP. Thanks, Hanif.
Can I add that is it just traffic management or is it multimodal access? For me, conceptually, it's really important to choose your language carefully because you make an assumption that a whole development has to be car-centered.
Yeah, well, as I said, let's wait till we get to that section of the RFP and see what we say and see if it needs to
Okay,
be
I'll remain silent
discussed.
because that's sensitive.
It's just that we have limited time, and if I appreciate your comments, but we have to get through this before 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Thanks. All right.
Okay.
So we've decided what on a footnote
Yep.
directing.
Reference it and
Yeah.
the date. Make sure they know the date of it. I am going to do that little bit of background because I think that's the city's responsibility to understand what we told them at the time should be the background assumptions, and they didn't put that in the memo from a quick look. I don't see it in the memo.
Okay.
So let me go back to VHB and just ask real quick what they baked in because I think that's relevant to Adrian's point. Okay, moving on. So we just kind of added some language here around the operating pro forma, making sure that they are going to give us what we want to see to make sure we understand feasibility specific for their product mix that they're suggesting, and including not just assumptions, but some contingencies. How are they being conservative or aggressive, basically. Then I added this language for the LIHTC question because this was something I think many of you raised.
Oh, under schedule number 8.
Yeah, sorry, under schedule number 8. Oh, I can scoop it. Four things. I'm sorry. My screen is bigger than yours.
Thank you.
When I see you do the
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
like, I
looking
need to
at
get
it
the
on a full
readers.
screen because I just can't see it.
when I start seeing your eyeballs, I'm so sorry. Okay. Um,
Yes, I mean, I think that works fine.
and I got that directly from Downstreet. They did mention this specifically, that it was not likely to be eligible for the
And
competitive
that's all we're
LIHTC.
saying, is that it's unlikely, and some of them, they can do the research.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Although I do question the idea of like, kind of going back to what we were just talking about with the CBDGDR of
And
like
the
evaluating or
interpretation.
making like it just
I
feels to
know.
me like let them do the homework on that and run that out, right?
Uh, So the alternative would be, because I went back and forth with that as well, Ben, because it seems like we're almost doing some of the interpretation for them rather than say, indicate how it shows compliance for LMI units, and if LIHTC is
I would just leave it at LMI units, right? Like, I mean, if these are sophisticated developers that are going to be looking at all of the different tools available to them, and I just wouldn't
okay.
want to like make um, kind of an assumption about what they're qualified for or not, right?
Okay.
Let them figure that out. That's
Well,
just me. I
I
mean,
guess
I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
I disagree. I think, the objection has been clearly raised by two of the original respondents, who are pretty convinced that it's not eligible. We're not saying it's not eligible. We're saying it might not be eligible.
I think we're saying
And
that we've got secondhand information from Downstreet that it's unlikely to be eligible. And I just feel like why do we need to do that? Why don't we just have them do their own homework and figure it out definitively?
Because
You
I
know?
guess what you're saying then, Ben, to address your point, Sal, is be like, put this on the back end instead, which is when we get their proposals, if they haven't addressed this issue of LIHTC or they've assumed something with LIHTC, then that's our job to
well,
evaluate at the
what?
time.
Sure, we can do it that way. But Ben, what is your concern? That
I
they'll
just
say, well, we're not going to bother if we can't do it.
I just
They're
feel
going to
like
research it anyway, aren't they?
yeah, I just feel like it's not our job to evaluate what they're eligible for or not, right? Like I think that that's part of their job is to like investigate those tools and see which ones apply and which ones don't. And I just don't think it's necessary for us to recommend, or make an assessment of what they're eligible for or not. That's their job.
Well,
I just yeah.
let me push back one more time. We are we're proposing a partnership, and as
Yeah.
their
Mhm.
partner, we have information from people we have done business with in the past, who we trust, who say it's unlikely to be eligible. Why not convey that information here? They're not going to ignore it, either
I'm
way.
just yeah.
What
I mean,
harm does
honestly,
it
so
do
I'm
to
just
include?
sorry, I mean interrupt. I'm just thinking about like in my world, like I would never tell a community group that I'm working with whether or not they're eligible for like they should contact the grantor themselves and figure it out. I just don't. But again, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't understand why we would make an evaluation on the likelihood of this program and not the CBDGDR.
So does
Again, I just
any
feel like
so does any wordsmithing, like instead of saying therefore unlikely, I mean therefore sounds very conclusive. What we just say may not be and may not be.
sure.
Or you could just take a piece back and say, um, stop at element units, period, and then please note for the purposes of or please note this is not walkable to downtown. Period. I mean,
Yeah, or I guess you could just stop it at downtown as it is, especially considering is fine with me, especially considering that this site is not walkable to downtown. I mean, we're broadly
although
hinting
maybe
that
that
that's a
doesn't really, maybe that confuses things because maybe
You
the
know, I
walkable
don't want to believe.
downtown thing is only relevant to LIHTC versus other funding sources.
I
maybe.
see. Yeah.
And who makes the determination whether, I mean, is there a specific determination of whether or not it's walkable to downtown? And are we talking about the designated downtown? Or are we
Right.
talking about
See,
like,
this is out of my ballpark, and the fact that, we don't know what the other criteria are for LIHTC, and we're not experts on it.
Well, we can say may not be considered walkable to
Or
downtown and may not be eligible.
Or we do a footnote and we say, please note, other respondents provided information that said, because this is not walkable to downtown, it may not be eligible for the competitive LIHTC. Just so we're giving
I'm
them
okay
the
with that as well. I mean, that's a very partner-like thing to do, I think.
It's just sharing in case they didn't look, it's just, yeah. I hear your point, Ben, because it's, we're kind of like spoon feeding them some stuff and they should be doing their own research, but they also have access to their own pots of money and they also have their own filters, their own way to evaluate their criteria. But if we're just sharing information and just saying and cross-populating our information so that we have enough, we're sharing all resources, then it just becomes a footnote that says this is what this is what was submitted to us.
And we're sharing it with everybody at the outset. If we give this to 4 or 5 developers and 4 come back with an explanation and 1 does not, do we just reject that person or do we go back and give them this hint after the fact?
Right.
Seems to me better to put it in now, saying we asked for this, you didn't include it. Sorry. I mean, we'd be justified in doing that then. Otherwise, are we showing some sort of favoritism later because we're saying, hey, everybody else said this and you didn't? It seems like.
Well, I guess it shows that they did their homework or they didn't, and what kind of partner do we want to be with is, someone who does their homework and is, thorough with their own evaluation. I just think if you put it as a footnote that says this is what was submitted to us, then you're at least sharing information out that was one of the more critical pieces of feedback we got during this process of RFQ that we can embed into the RFP process just to make sure we've covered our bases.
Sure, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Okay, me too.
Thank you for humoring me in the conversation.
Adrian, good? Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Ben.
So now if you've had time to read your screen to say the outreach and communication strategy, how do we feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that last meeting.
This is just reflecting what we talked about yesterday. Okay.
There was a spot later on where we talk about engagement again. Maybe it was in requirements, but I thought it worked there. But to be consistent, you might want to change it. It might be down
right here. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Partnership approach. This one feels a little broader. I feel like that could stay.
I agree with that.
Yeah, no, I thought so. Okay. I thought so too at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is where I really want to spend most of our time. Excuse me. So, all right. So here's where I need guidance because this isn't typical. So first of all, it's not. Yeah, I wouldn't have normally included this line here, the opportunity for public feedback in an RFP to the developers necessarily, because it's not on them to do this. Usually this timeline is just for what the developers are responsible for and the milestones for them. But I think for the sake of their understanding of what this community is going to expect, I think it's important. So I think that should be called out. And then this was to reflect what we talked about previously, which is kind of stick with your existing practices. The subcommittee gets the information, it's public information, and the process for the community to get you feedback is to provide it to you, the 3 of you, as you're making your decisions and as you're doing your evaluation and as we build the questions for the interview. This is when the community can give you some feedback. Now, that's a pretty short window, 5 days.
That's what I thought. Yeah, just wasn't enough time for, I mean, there's going to be a lot of information to pour through.
The tricky part is what we're butting up against is town meeting day.
Yeah.
And I'm unclear um how else to do it. So because I wanted to give like a, window of 15 days or so, whatever this is, to hold interviews and for follow-up questions and for everybody, for this subcommittee to deliberate a little bit within that window. That's just the last sprint of time before then March 2nd, which would be the day before town meeting day. That could be your final decision date if you wanted to make the decision before you are potentially, if you got not reelected, right, to the two of you.
Yeah.
The continuity of this feels important to me. That's my role, is to keep the integrity of this process. The continuity feels important to me, to have your input, Sal and Adrian. That was what my question was to Kelly, and I don't think I either. Oh no, I think
Mhm.
I asked her, and I have to go to Mike Tarrant. I still haven't gone to Mike to ask that. I'm sorry. That's where we're at with that. But that could a subcommittee be composed of a couple of uh community members, if God forbid you're not reelected. And then but maybe there's two new appointees from the council as well that need to be the voting members of the subcommittee, but that would still incorporate Sal and Adrian's. I guess maybe, you know what, Sal and Adrian, you'd be able to join as a public at that point if you needed to provide feedback. But if you're not
Yeah.
voting members because you're no longer counselors, I don't really know I don't know what a subcommittee, like what are the rules around subcommittee?
Yeah.
I
Go
wonder,
ahead, Ben.
yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I think it'd be great to talk to Mike about this because I think
Okay.
like we could kind of reconstitute or like recharge this kind of subcommittee. I mean, I don't know. Mike would have to weigh in on this, right? But like, do Sal and Adrian, do we actually have to have council members on a subcommittee that's making a recommendation to the full council? Because that's ultimately
Right.
who's the decision maker here, right? Not the
Right.
subcommittee, the
Right.
full council. I mean, the full council could decide to completely ignore the recommendations of a subcommittee and just,
Mhm.
so I
Yep.
feel
Yeah.
like I think we should talk about this sooner rather than later with the full council and with Mike to just
Mhm.
just have a common understanding of like, my recommendation would be that Sal and Adrian just continue on a subcommittee if they're willing to serve, should they not be on the council after town meeting day, which is probably unlikely. So
Yeah.
anyway, I just feel like we should, if we're really pinching ourselves because we're worried about that town meeting day,
Yeah.
I think we should really explore other options
Okay.
so that we're not feeling pinched. Because and then I'll be quiet. If the last thing I'm just wondering about is in this timeline, where does financial analysis fit in?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just jump in and say that I don't feel a need to. I mean, I understand the benefit of continuity, but I don't necessarily think we need to achieve it by making a decision before town meeting. I think if the voters throw us out, um, we need to respect that. And I'm running out of battery, I see. And come up with a
That's not
come
a
up
net
with a
metaphor, right?
yeah come
Okay.
up with a different solution. So I
Okay.
don't think we
Well,
need to squeeze this against that deadline. I
okay.
don't
Then
know how Adrian feels, but
Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think we should base our entire timeline around town meeting day. I think we're fine
okay.
to do what's right and ensure that there's enough time, enough feedback loop. If people replace us, I trust that they're very smart, educated people that would be able to fit into the council and make decisions. So,
Well, it would really be maybe your job then before that, if you've been the ones in the interviews, that you've kept detailed notes and contributed that back to the,
yeah,
before that date. So, okay.
yeah.
So then in
Um,
that case,
well,
uh,
Ben's other point though about the financial analysis,
yeah.
we started to talk about this yesterday. It's likely to I mean, we talked about lining it up now, or at least,
Let's do an extension here because what I'm thinking is let's work on this date here to get a longer window for feedback.
which
And
date is that?
this one that I'm highlighting is so February 10th. So go from the
Okay.
date that they become public over
Mhm.
to February 10th. Or we should extend that opportunity for feedback. Actually, we could just make it doesn't have to be a separate line, and independent financial analysis during that time frame. So that basically before you start your interviews, you have all the feedback from the community and a vetting of the financial feasibility before you start interviews. Does that make sense?
Yes, but how much time should we leave for that?
That's the next question.
And
Yeah.
and what does it matter? In other words, does it matter if we're not done with that until the end of March?
None of
Of the
this,
first,
there's not an expectation. I
yeah.
mean, this is a pretty big one, so the developers will be expecting it's going to take some time to get through. So we're giving them quite a lot of time to put their proposal together. We're going to need quite a lot of time to review. So as long as we're not, now that we've dispelled the issue with town meeting day, then I'd say you've got all the time you want. So I would suggest probably 3 weeks for public
Well,
feedback and financial analysis.
well, I was going to say, working from the May 1, target date, I would say
You,
we're going to add at least
you
a
don't
month
need
to
that. That's not also, that was just,
but I'm thinking we're going to add at least a month to that if we
right.
include it at all.
So what
So 3 weeks. You're
I just
saying
say,
add 3 weeks to this feedback review period, so that February 27th becomes March something,
all right,
18th.
so
I don't
let's
know.
start with February 5th, because the February 4th, if they're proposed on February 4th, they get posted to the website by reasonably actually February 6th. We should give Evelyn an extra day there to post them to the website. Let's not be
Yeah.
let's not be jerks here. Hold on. There. And just, to make sure we've got all the documents, we've got it, we want to be clear and we want to be thorough. So if that's the 6th, 3 weeks from the 6th, I'm bouncing between my screens here. 1, 2, 3. So by February 27th. Does that look good to have public feedback done and financial analysis? And if for some reason the financial analysis needs to take a little longer, which we don't know because we haven't engaged somebody yet, but with this much advance notice, I would imagine if we are soliciting proposals from somebody, we'll just have to say, this is our time frame. Can you make that work? And if they can't, if nobody can, then I think we just have to, and we can, we say right here, the city can modify the schedule at its sole discretion. So, I mean, if for some reason we discover we need an extra month for financial feasibility, we do it. That's fine. So I would suggest that this becomes the 27th. And then that means from March 2nd, you can have a window of March 2nd through March. How many weeks for interviews? I think before I had it as like 2 weeks, basically, a 2-week period. Because town meeting day is in there, I would actually, because you may have some shift and, some chaos in that, I would give you what, like 3 weeks, like go to March 20th. That's like 3 full weeks to do the interviews.
So from the 28th to,
Basically from March 2nd, because the 28th is a Saturday.
oh,
So
I'm not looking at the calendar. Okay,
I would
so
say
from
March
March,
2nd to March 20th is the window for interviews. That makes sense.
It works.
And
Okay,
then that
yeah.
means you have a subcommittee meeting shortly thereafter to make your decision to do deliberations. You might need 2 after the window, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
I
Yeah.
would say deliberations for 2 weeks. Then give us another 2 weeks till April. Wait, when are your meetings? Oh my God. Hold on. Evelyn, could you tell us what your April meeting dates are?
Yes, let me look at
Thank you.
that right now. No
Thank you.
problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. March 20.
So that will be the 8th and the 22nd.
Okay, hold on a second. Where did my screens go? I don't know what you guys are seeing. I'm sorry. I'm between like 1,000 screens here. Okay. March.
So we'd have to have a meeting. So we'd be hard pressed to make the meeting on the 8th, it seems.
I don't know.
No?
You think? I mean, because if you've got this deliberation period, this is kind of hard to read, isn't it? Because it's doing all the editing. But if you've got, they're posted on the 4th,
Right.
that's 2 months
That should
before you
be,
make your recommendation.
and I think evaluation can be happening concurrently, right? Like we can
Exactly.
be
Well,
we can be reviewing the applications while
that's-
people are doing the financial analysis and then report back to us and we all blend it together.
I think that's your thing. And this is a 2-month window where, there's a clear chance for opportunity for feedback and financial analysis. There's going to be back and forth questions, back and forth. There may be more than one interview or more than one meeting just to get, some additional information from them and maybe ask them to go back to the drawing board with a few things. And then the deliberations can happen concurrently. You'll probably have meetings within this. And so then that gives you just 2 weeks to do your selection. And then that, I would say by April 2nd, because then April 3rd, you get that out in the packet for the April 8th meeting. Unless you need to hold this as a separate meeting. We talked about that at some point, that does this need to be its own separate meeting on its own agenda instead of a full council meeting? In which case, then you're looking at the following week.
you mean a special council meeting?
Correct.
Yeah.
You talked about that previously. I don't know if that's of interest.
I actually though wonder like would ideally that would not be necessary by the time we got to this point, right? Like if the process works, we will have deliberated thoroughly, right? We will have written a captivating memo that describes why we made the decision that we did, and like
right.
A full special meeting to do. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we figure it out when we get there.
So Monday, so the review period goes till the 20th of March. The 23rd of March is a Monday. We could meet, are we suggesting that we meet twice in that week or once?
I'm suggesting you just keep yourself a window for however many times you need to meet. It's just giving you a window from March 23rd to April 2nd to meet and as many times as you need, or none at all, whatever it is. You can tighten that window up when you get there if you need to.
Yeah. And we need a little bit of time to prepare that, whatever we're going to submit for the packet on the 3rd or the 2nd. Yeah. Okay.
So hypothetically, we're just doing targets here so that they have the information for the purposes of, understanding their timelines, but all
right, so within that 2-week period from the 23rd.
And then I want to give you 2 months to do an LOI, especially because that's construction season kickoff. So basically April 8th through, I'd say target June 10th to have an LOI. That's my recommendation. Now, does this feel, so again, thinking about at some point we talked about a housing forum. Doesn't need to go in this timeline because that's not relevant. The developers are not being asked to attend it, or there won't be proposals available by that time if you choose to hold it in January. And I'm not going to get involved with that because that doesn't feel like my lane. So I'm going to leave that to the housing committee. So I'm not going to put that in here. But in terms of public input for this process, does this feel like sufficient opportunity for input and engagement?
I'll say that I think it does. I think we'll want to put more intention and thought into how we kind of disseminate the proposals from the developers and share them with the community, right? I mean, I think probably we want to do something more than just like put it on the website. But I do feel like we've gotten feedback from the community on the proposals already, right? For the RFQs. And so I think we need to think a little bit more about what the mechanism is for that communication and engagement, but in terms of the timeline, it feels totally acceptable to me.
And potentially, if they, maybe there is a more, I like the mechanism idea, maybe with Zen City, there's an opportunity, if that's the name, if I've got that right, if there's an opportunity to, in this period here with the feedback period, to ask people to use a form to get you either feedback or questions they would like asked in the interview, and you have kind of two buckets of stuff. And then in one of the meetings, you can have a committee meeting before the interviews, which you'll need to do to prepare what questions you want to ask, how you want to do it. And then you have all that feedback by the 27th that you can then disseminate, I can help you disseminate, we can pull together. So maybe it's a city website, not just the subcommittee members. So maybe I change that to, oops.
I like that a lot. And then,
Yeah, it seems like that could work.
Feels like a good, clear, like a way of like really bringing it together. But do you have any sense that there would need to be a public component for folks to speak out at a specific meeting? And keep in mind that the interviews with the proposers, I'm highly advising to do an executive session. That feels really important.
I wonder if
at least most parts of them.
Sorry, Stephanie. I wonder, like, we're going to have a meeting to get together to discuss the questions that we've collected from the community and, thoughts that we have, right, to prepare for the interviews. I wonder if at the beginning of that meeting, it could be an opportunity for additional people or for the public to speak on, the ones that want to show up and talk about the proposals. That might be a good opportunity for them to do that. And then it'll inform the decisions or the interviews that we make.
Which meeting is this, Ben, you're anticipating?
Well, if we go with what Stephanie was just describing of like setting up something on Zen City or website that collects both questions and comments, right? Then we're going to have a meeting where we get together to synthesize that information and develop interview questions.
Subcommittee meeting? Okay.
Yeah. And then what I'm suggesting is at the beginning of that subcommittee meeting, we could just, that could be, public forum or, people just providing public comment on the proposals. And because I'm assuming that the interview questions, I'm assuming would be developed in executive session or not. I mean, maybe they are just public questions. I mean,
most of them probably are public, but then they may be specific to each developer, maybe private.
So it means a longer subcommittee meeting, probably.
And what's fun about that is the timing. So really specific. I love that idea, Ben, because like February 27th, you could end that public comment period from Zen City and then have your meeting basically on February 27th or March 2nd or whatever, and have that be the culmination where the folks can come and provide verbal feedback as well. It also is a nice way for accessibility. If people can't get to a website to do their, entry or whatever, they can come make a verbal statement. And so you could do that as like the end cap to that public feedback period, and then go into your, deliberations about pulling together those, but maybe you have a designated meeting that is time for public feedback that end caps it, that you're, adding that as your last bit of feedback into the pot where we're gonna pull it all apart and process all the questions. But I say timing because that's like right around town meeting day, and maybe some of you are going to be campaigning. I don't know how busy you're going to be in that time.
Well, I mean, I think that's reasonable, and we have some time to work out the details on that. And speaking of timing, we have about 8 minutes before 9. So
if you're comfortable with this as what goes out, we've got this ability to change the schedule at any time. We're going to refine the public process as you start building it. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, if you're comfortable with that, that's where we're leaving that. We did add some 1-inch contour, or 1-foot contour data to because it's on the website already. I'm just putting that.
Can you provide an actual link to that? It wasn't.
It's right here. I mean, it's on the main web page.
Okay.
In that link, and then I wrote elevation in right column on website, I'll say.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there are multiple formats there's
a DWG and PDF.
And then I saw Hanif's comment in the chat, and he just suggested adding multimodal, I think, back up here, and I just don't want to lose track of
Oh
that.
yeah,
It's
what happened
conceptual.
to the? Thought it was under.
So I think here, let me find. I think the only place we've mentioned multimodal is here under the create a walkable connected neighborhood.
What page are you on? 8?
I'm on 6.
That's 6.
But that's just referencing the specific path. So he's suggesting adding in the requirement around the traffic access, when we added that, to just add a specific line to multimodal.
And that is where?
So let me find that now.
Yeah, that's
Other
where
way.
we.
Other way. All right. So when we say conceptual
Oh,
traffic management and access design,
page 9,
page
item 4,
9, item 4.
conceptual traffic management and access design.
I think I actually really like the idea of, could we just include like access design, including multimodal options?
Something like, I can't see anything.
Aren't all the requirements, aren't they complete street requirements anyway? The internal roads and sidewalks and so on? Or not
Yep.
necessarily? Yeah.
Yep. There might be some of that, but I think his point is just putting an emphasis on it to make sure that it's very clear.
Yeah,
that
sure. No, I just wonder if
a-
complete streets is a shorthand for that, or if we, I'm happy with just adding the multimodal language. Go ahead, Hanif. Briefly, we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think including multimodal options is fine, but also I was just suggesting conceptual traffic management and multimodal access design.
Well, we have to specifically, I'm trying to make the focus on traffic access though, because we've got to focus on we've got a couple focuses here. So I don't want to lose track of the secondary access, vehicular access that's necessary as well. That's kind of where we were going with that.
Well, we could put.
Multimodal actually incorporates all modes, so you don't have to contrast vehicular access. We're just talking about traffic management, and an important way of managing traffic is to have multimodal access. That's my way of looking at it.
I hear your point. Yeah, I see your point.
So you want to put the word multimodal in between and access and multimodal access design.
I think that's the simplest way of conveying that.
I don't see why not. Is there any other opinion on that from you guys?
I think that makes more sense than including multimodal, because you're just repeating yourself. It's multimodal access. It's just encompassing. I think that's just easy. Yeah, that's clean. That looks nice.
Okay. That was the whole of the RFP, Sal. So if you're comfortable with that, what I'll do is then clean it up. You don't need to see it again. I just accept the changes we just made. We just edited the hell out of it. And then I will send it to Evelyn and she will put it in the packet. That's the same thing with the other.
One small nerdy thing. At one point you mentioned in the schedule sending the RFQ to the shortlisted developers. I mean, we're just sending them to the developers, right? I mean, there's no reason to have that modifier.
I guess I just wanted to be clear. It's not everybody who submitted to the RFQ.
Okay.
Differentiated.
Fine, but it's a small
It could
thing.
say selected instead of shortlisted. Just
yeah, maybe that's better. Shortlisted, I don't know. It's a funny connotation.
So we would be then like looking for a motion to approve this RFP and the with the changes that we've just identified.
As edited, yeah.
Yeah, as edited. I'd be happy to make that motion and then maybe we can discuss it more. But I would move that we accept the RFP as edited and forward it on to the council for their consideration.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Well,
I
actually,
think,
to see
No,
Penny's
go ahead.
question is a good one. The evaluation matrices would be an appendix or appendices to that memo, correct?
Oh, I think he's asking a different question. I think he's asking,
Or is
will
he
you
asking-
have a scoring matrix in the
Oh.
RFP? And I agree, that will come out eventually. It's going to get developed by the subcommittee, and likely you'll build that during one of the meetings that you have when you're doing, once you've gotten the RFPs. It's possible you could even do it during the period of waiting once we've sent this out and we've got a month and a half between sending it and getting proposals. You could start building the matrix just like we did the last time. The scoring, we have the selection criteria written out. So that's what they need to focus on, the proposers, and then we'll build the matrix on that.
Yeah, the matrix is parallels that. So the answer is no, it won't be included in the RFP, but we will develop it before the evaluation process. Yeah. Okay, any further discussion? Are we ready to vote on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Stephanie, thanks for all your work on this.
You're welcome. And 1 minute to go. Nice job, committee. Really
2 days
great.
in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks
So
everybody.
next
And
week,
thanks
next
for your-
week,
ahead.
real quick, just wanted to check in about the meeting itself. And do you expect that you all will make the presentation of the memo and just have an open discussion with your fellow counselors? Did you want me to do any kind of presentation?
That's a good question.
You know, honestly, I think, sorry, Sal, but I think you should do it. I think
Yeah, no, I
you know,
like the
I mean, I
idea.
think,
Yeah, you're the chair. It makes a lot of sense. Yep. I'll be there. I'll be there to answer questions. Do you want me
Yeah.
there in person? Or you want me on Zoom? Up to you.
Yeah, good question.
I think I'll just say, speaking for myself, I think Zoom is totally fine. I think
Okay.
Sal, you're going to do a fantastic job presenting
Yeah, I would hate
this.
to have you drive all the way down for 5 minutes. Yeah.
Been on my calendar. My husband knows about it, so I serve at the pleasure of this council. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's
No,
fine.
I'll prep it and I'll draw you guys into what
Great.
my presentation will be. Okay, thanks, Honey, for your
Great.
input. Thanks, Evelyn, for sticking with us. And
Thank
we
you.
are adjourned.
Thanks.
Everybody.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Ciao. See you tonight.